Hi, my name is Juan, and welcome to The Couch, a podcast where real therapists talk about real things. Please remember that we are therapists, but we are not your therapists, and this podcast is intended for educational purposes only. Mic check. That's how I would start these episodes if I was a rapper. But I am, at least not right now in life, a rapper. Today's episode, transactional versus deep relationships. Why do we struggle with them? Why do we lean one way or the other? Now, just to throw it out there, transactional relationship, I find that many adults are really good with this. And I think here in Western society, in the U.S., there's a lot of it that takes place, right? You meet someone and you are nice, right? You're nice and you're like, hey, how are you? Good. Maybe they provide you with something, you provide them with something. So transactional relationships have a bit of an exchange to them, right? That's why they're labeled that transaction. And they're often not deep. They're not deep layered. So if we look at this, let's say like a plant, a transactional relationship is a plant that has roots that barely go in the ground, and a deep, meaningful relationship, maybe one that you have like with your best friend, where you have inside jokes and, you could do them a favor and they're not going to say, how much do I owe you, right? These deep relationships where you're vulnerable with somebody, that plant has roots that spreads from your house to, way over there. The roots are so thick that they break up that pavement and you're like, wow, look at that root sticking out. I'm wondering, have you ever felt like you're surrounded, right, by people, but you still feel alone? And I bring that up because often with the transactional relationship, when I work with individuals, adults, they'll share that with me. They go, hey, Dr. Santos, listen, I got people around me, but I still feel this sense of they don't really know me. Or maybe your relationships feel, and you know this, they feel surface level, functional, like we function, like you're checking a box, right? So instead of actually connecting with someone, you see these people as boxes in your life. And again, typically when you have these transactional relationships, there's often not like a malicious part of you that goes, yeah, I'm doing this on purpose. I find that in adulthood, we got here somehow. And if you think about yourself as a computer, let's say you're a computer and you're programmed, well, that means that your programming came from somewhere. So the way that you function, how you show up in life is typically because of things you went through, good or really hard. It's because of role models in your life, right? Because of all of those things. Now, I bring that up with you so we can invite this topic. We can look a little bit deeper into how to lean away from these transactional relationships. Sometimes they do serve a role in certain areas. But you know what? I'll tell you something. I find that the deep relationships, that's where my heart really pounds. I think if at some point I'm lying on that hospital bed and it's my last breaths of life, I'm going to focus on those deep relationships, the one that really mattered. So let's start simple. Transactional relationships, right? These are relationships based off of, let's use the term exchange. I give you this, you give me that. And we see these everywhere. We see them in a work relationship. You may even have some friendships that lean much more towards a transactional relationship. And there's signs that you'll know, right? You may think to yourself, damn, it's my birthday. No one's calling me. What the fuck, right? And that's because you're hurting. You're hurting for something, right? You have a gap in life and you want it filled. Now, you know what? Even romantic relationships can lean into this space where, you may have a couple that says we feel more like roommates. You're checking boxes. I provide you support, right? That could be that relationship there. I do this, you do that. Now, again, I'm going to share this. Transactional relationships are not necessarily bad, right? It's not like this is a bad thing. It's more of learning what they are, right? They limit. And I find that to be helpful to know if you have a transactional relationship, likely it's going to limit to a certain zone. So for instance, I may have a transactional relationship with a peer and it focuses on blank. Like it may be a relationship with a personal trainer and it focuses on performance. I may have a consultant that I go to so that I can, become a stronger, a more effective practitioner. So that's going to focus on expectations and roles and functions within that. Now, deep relationships, right? Let's swing into that. Deep relationships, they go beyond the exchange, right? They are built on feeling authentic. I mean, have you felt that? You have this person you just lay back with and you're just yourself. You're not worried on what are they going to do with that information. You're vulnerable. You feel accepted, my friend. You feel seen. Doesn't that shit feel good? Yes. And you know what? You feel all those things come together and it's safe. You feel emotionally safe. Now, here's a little fun activity. When you get done with this episode, get a sheet of paper, put a big circle on there, and write down every name that would go in there, right? Persons that you feel emotionally safe with, vulnerable with, authentic with, you feel seen with, you feel accepted with. You feel that you don't have to perform with these people. You feel that you don't have to earn, right? You don't have to do X or Y to earn something. You can be fully yourself. And I don't expect that any of us are going to have a circle, right? This giant circle with 1,000 names. I think that these are going to be really unique relationships that we build over time. I have a follow-up episode I'm going to do that's going to keep this conversations going. It's going to focus us on attachment styles, because I think it plays a role in here, and I think you'll find it interesting. But for now, I want to leave you with something. I want to leave you with curiosity. Stay far away from judgment. I want to leave you with curiosity. And here's what I want you to be curious about. I want you to be curious about the relationships that you're building. And be honest with yourself. When you're showing up to these relationships, are some transactional? I'm sure they are. Are some deep relationships? I'm sure they are. And this is your life, not mine, not your neighbor's, right? Your life. You get to be the one to decide, is this okay? And you'll have signs to let you know if it's okay. Your health, your mental health, your physical health, right? Your joy, your happiness, those are going to be signs. So what I want you to do as you finish off with this episode, other than be, an awesome friend and listener, I'd love for you to leave me a review. Let me know what you think about these episodes. Share it with a friend, all that good stuff. But more importantly, I want you to go ahead and see where you're leaning towards. Maybe give yourself a goal. Do you want to have more deep relationships? Are you a little bit nervous? Does the idea of being authentic and being seen and safe, do you think to yourself, wow, so I can actually have a relationship where I don't have to perform? That'd be some shit. I'd like that. I want to leave you with that curiosity. See where it takes you, and I'll see you in the next episode.